Okay, I tell you what, let's just let them drift on in if they will, but let's go on and get started since it's sort of late in the day. If somebody would close the door, if you don't mind, and I'm sure that Representative Jackson will be back. Representative Peake had another meeting. We've got more meetings going on today than we've had, I think, all year. Didn't you say it was a record number of meetings? Record number of meetings today for the House. So thank y'all so much. Georgia National Fairgrounds. And Georgia National Fairgrounds is part of the Department of, it's an attached agency to the, okay, all right, we've got it. I don't know why we said Georgia National Fairgrounds, but that was, okay, excuse me, you can give us the, and one thing we'd probably want to hear, y'all, a little bit about the bond that y'all are asking for.
Yes, ma'am. Currently, we're seeking $8.78 million is what we're going after. It's a conditioned arena service, place for equine events, looked at it hard, and we can tell you without a doubt. Other arenas are at capacity as far as dates go. With this new arena, it'll bring us another year of dates for horse shows. Also, the other thing it'll do for us, shows from across the country. We look at Oklahoma, we look at shows out west. We want Georgia to be number one in showcasing agriculture in this arena. We're hoping that we're still being committee. With that, any questions? I have Steve Rumpus, the CFO, and Richardson Darius.
Tell us, I guess you know that one of our committee members' wife is on y'all's board. And so he's gonna,
She had a goat in one hand and a kid in another.
so I'm sure he's got a question.
Well, I don't know that it's so much a question. I just appreciate what y'all are doing there. I don't know many places in the state that I'll let my children run wild, but our fairgrounds is a good place to let them run wild because they are safe and it's clean. It's one of the cleanest for that many. I don't know how many. I don't remember what the number is, but for the number of people that come through your facility, it's awesome. So appreciate what y'all are doing there. You're doing a great job.
We're per year about, we're tapping on a million people a year coming through our gates. The 11 days of our fair, we do 536,000 people throughout the year. And I've got some paperwork if you want it on paper, but we're about an $80 million economic impact on the state of Georgia every year. So, and we're a destination. People come from all over the country, come into Georgia to visit us, and we want more of them. That's why we're requesting this funding. We want to attract some big dogs from across the country to come see us in Perry, Georgia, and really showcase what's great about the state. So.
Now,
Have I been? I've been there 15 years. I serve as the director now for about 9 months. So.
Appreciate what you do.
Yes, sir.
I was on the national guild board, we had our junior national there a few years ago, and y'all done an excellent job with that thing.
Right. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
thank you, Representative Tanksley.
I'm just curious about the equine arena that you're speaking of building, and you probably already have this, but I'm just curious. Do you have like camping facilities because I know it's a family event somewhat,
Yes.
and they come with those big trailers with living quarters or RVs. So
Yes, ma'am.
is there a
We can accommodate right now we've had as many as 6,000 RVs on our site during a family motor coach association. But during livestock shows and horse shows, they do bring their living quarters. About half of the other half will stay in hotels, motels, which we're grateful for our area. And you get that $5 bed tax too on them.
Absolutely.
But half of them do come and stay on our property. They make it home for the week. And it's a great family atmosphere. Like Mr. Representative Watson said, children are turned loose and they have a good time together, and we're there. And our motivation on our commercial end is really so that we can invest back into our equine and livestock area, so that we know that when people are coming into our facility, number one, it's safe, number two, it's clean, and we know they can have a good time. So we accommodate up to 500 RVs sometimes for some of our horse shows. So, and part of that funding that we're asking for is to expand on our RV park. So,
Thank you so much for what you do. I'm sure everyone
Yes, ma'am.
has a great time there.
yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Thank you. Unless you had other comments you'd like to tell us about?
No, ma'am, we're just grateful to be here, and thank you for giving us the time.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
He never been bragged on so much, he likes to brag.
I'll come back anytime.
World Congress Center. Mr. Poe, and we're so glad to have Lindsay Strickland here with us today, too.
Well, good afternoon. Excuse me. Thanks for
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for the opportunity to speak before your committee again. This is really a great time for us to be before you to talk about the Congress Center and what all we're about. We've got a packet of information that we're putting in front of you, and within that is a presentation that we'd want to walk you through, as well as some number of other documents in there that speak to the Congress Center and what we're about. But before I get into the central point of today, I thought it would be good to give you a bit of a review of the Congress Center over this past fiscal year 16. We had a total economic impact on the state of Georgia of $1.5 billion through all the events that we host on our campus. And our campus is over 200 acres that is inclusive of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium under construction today, the Georgia Dome, the Congress Center, and Centennial Olympic Park. As a byproduct of that economic activity, we sustain a little over 15,000 jobs in the state of Georgia that all support the convention trade show industry that uses our facilities as well as others around the campus. We contributed in sales tax alone an additional $87 million to the state of Georgia Treasury, and hosted just over 2.7 million people on our campus through this past fiscal year. Over the course of the last 2 years, the General Assembly has been generous enough to provide to the authority $5 million that we've used or will be using in renovating and updating Centennial Olympic Park. Those funds have helped leverage us to go out to the private sector and secure an additional $22 million. Those dollars will totally, about $27 million and some change will be totally invested in the park. We've got 6 major projects that will actually commence this next month, the first of which will be the removal of the Metro Chamber and the expansion of the park into that space. So some really exciting things going on in the park. Our goal is to have all those projects done and completed by January of 2019 in advance of Super Bowl that will be hosted in the state of Georgia and Atlanta in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium and across our campus in February of that year. So really a lot of activity going on in the park over the course of the next 2 years. If you'd consider the total investment that the state has made over history into the Georgia World Congress Center Authority, it's $630 million total investment. over that same time frame, the events that have used the facilities have contributed, just in sales tax, $1.4 billion to the state treasury. Does not include the income tax off the jobs that we support, just sales tax alone from those events over our history. So a net return to the state on its investment of over $700 million if you consider paying off some of the bonds associated with sales tax. What we're really centrally focused on today is a project that we call a contiguous exhibit hall project that really binds two of our major halls, buildings B and C. And if you turn to page 5 in your presentation packet, you'll see an outline really of where that project would fit. It's a $55 million project. We've worked with a number of our clients over the course of the last 2 years, and one of the key deficiencies that we experience currently is that ability to provide contiguously in excess of 1 million square feet of exhibit space, and this project would certainly help us achieve that. We worked with actually on page 6 are some renderings that would depict what that project would look like. In the investment of the funds necessary to support and develop that. During that same time period, we've also worked with 2 key clients, the International Poultry and Egg Association, which actually is having their annual meeting in our facilities today. Record exhibit hall use, record attendance. Poultry industry is headquartered, their association is headquartered in the state of Georgia. They are very much strong advocates. They're basically wall to wall in our building C and building B and C exhibit halls. So this connected facility really allows them to expand and stitch together one contiguous 1.1 million square feet. In addition to that, the International Woodworking Federation is also headquartered here in the state of Georgia. They meet on our campus every 2 years for their annual convention, and again, they're wall to wall. So all about wood products, all about activities associated with cabinetry, anything that deals with the construction industry. Those two events are, as I said, are strong proponents of this particular project. In addition to that, if you flip over to page 8, this is a sampling of other events that we have talked to through our marketing analysis that have indicated that they would either come into the facility, continue to rotate their meetings into the state of Georgia, and as well as existing customers that need the space to expand. So there's actually a total of 16 1 million square foot trade shows that would continue to move into the state of Georgia, and certainly would expand into this space as existing customers. Those 16 groups represent over $600 million in economic impact to the state of Georgia with its attendant sales tax impacts as well. The two meetings I mentioned to you, poultry and woodworking. Poultry has been in the Congress Center for 40 years straight. It's one of our longest running trade shows. We've actually grown up in the industry, so to speak, as they've expanded. Their show is a byproduct of the growth that they've experienced in that particular agricultural space. But that one event alone over the last 10 years, just the last 10 years, not the full 40, has contributed $562 million into the state of Georgia as a byproduct of their economic effect on the state. In addition to that, the International Woodworking Fair, produced by the Federation in 2016, has contributed $62 million in economic impact. From 2000 to 2016, it's in excess of $650 million. So 2 very strong events, in addition to, the others that would be coming into this space if we're successful with your support in order to construct that facility. If you look ahead, just a few other major events, and you've heard a lot about these, I know, over the course of time, that will actually use the entire campus. Centennial Park, the Congress Center, in addition to Mercedes-Benz. College Football National Championship next January, January the 8th, will be on our campus in the state of Georgia. That will be followed on by the Super Bowl in 2019. and then the men's Final Four in 2020. Each of those will use the entire campus for their event, and you see some of the projected economic impact attendant to those activities. Lastly, I want to say that this past year we were able to secure another 10-year arrangement with the SEC Football Championships, which will also be in Mercedes-Benz starting out this 2017, but in addition to that, use the entire campus for their activity. The economic impact of the SEC since it's been in Georgia is approximately $1 billion associated with their event. So a lot of good, exciting things are happening across the campus. A lot of good things are happening for the state of Georgia as a byproduct of that, and we're very, very proud and pleased to be a part of that, and be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Do I have any questions? Well, I just want to say thank you for the job you're doing and for all the revenue and everything you're bringing to Georgia.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And look forward to more good things happening.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Department of Community Affairs.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and members of the committee for the opportunity today to talk about the governor's fiscal year 18 budget recommendations for DCA. We always appreciate the support we've received from this subcommittee in the General Assembly in the past. Other than the common adjustments in the budget for merit-based pay increases, employee retirement system payments, and merit system payments, we have one recommended addition of state funds to our administration program and several reductions to remove one-time funding that was included in the fiscal year 17 budget. I'll first talk about the addition to our administration program. At 16.3.5 on the tracking sheet, you can see that the governor has recommended the addition of $270,831 within our administration program, which will be used to offset a reduction in federal and other funds. The Governor's Office of Planning and Budget conducted a zero-based budget analysis of DCA's administration program and published their findings in January of 2016. They noted that the executive office staff are partially funded by the administrative portion of federal grants and other variable fund sources that fluctuate depending on Georgia's economic climate. And OPB recommended that the agency find ways to diversify the funding sources used for executive staff salaries to mitigate any future funding reductions. DCA began moving executive office positions from 100% state funding to a mixture of federal and other funds during the lean budget times that started in 2009 as a way to cut state funds from the budget. However, the over-reliance on these other funding sources within the executive office causes issues for the agency when those federal funding sources are reduced or eliminated altogether, which is what we are facing. So DCA worked with OPB to identify federal and other fund sources most at risk, and that number of $270,831 represents that amount the amount of state funds needed to get a more balanced mix of funds within the executive office. In terms of funding reductions, at 16.2.4 on the tracking sheet, you will see a reduction of $100,000, which eliminates one-time funding for grants for coastal infrastructure. At 16.10.4, you will see a reduction of $25,000 in one-time funding for the second harvest of South Georgia. And at 16.10.5, a reduction of $75,000 for the one-time funding for the Central State Hospital Redevelopment Authority. And Madam Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I had one question,
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
Of 16.3, 14. Under 1 Georgia, and other funds, let's see, where's my 1 Georgia? Okay, here. In other funds, it's 145,521 cents. What is that other funds?
What that actually represents is the time we had a separate executive director for One Georgia when they were down in Dublin.
Okay.
And that money really is actually just rolled into the contract amount that comes to DCA. So really, it's part of the 20 million. It just has to do with how
Okay, I just wondered what that was for.
it represented that separate
Okay.
executive director.
All right, what the other funds? Do I have any other questions? Thank you, and thank you for the job you're doing.
Thank you very much.
If we don't have any other public comment, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.